Hi everybody, I'm looking at a new plugin by Techivation, and it's a spectral shaping enhancer. It's an EQ that uses spectral shaping to address problem zones in your mixes or in your audio files, something harsh high-end or muddy mid-range. You can address quickly and get a better result, right? And this one is called M-Clarity, and I didn't buy it. I'm trying it out. You go to their website and you can use the trial to see if you like it. If you have any of the other ones, maybe you don't need this one, but I put it next to the ones I own, which is the Sonnox, the Claro, the Gullfoss, and the Neutron Sculptor. And there are a couple more that came out in the last few years, which use the same AI to make you, help you to make better, mixes and things like that. So there are a couple other ones that came out in the last few years, but those are the ones I own. So I'm going to put them next to the M-Clarity. So if you look at the interface, it looks very simple. There's a gigantic dial which says suppression. This will be the amount of a suppression of that frequency or range of frequencies you don't like or you want to address. What I did, I recorded some violin on the E string, and often the E string gets a little harsh. There's, the high end could get scratchy, maybe it's too much. I don't want to say hiss, but there's some bite to it, especially on electric violins. The E strings are usually the worst offenders. So let's take a look at this M-Clarity plugin on my violin track. So there's only pretty much a couple spots you want to address before you put it to work. So first of all, the oppression is easy. That's the amount you want to address, those frequencies. First of all, you need to determine which frequencies you want to address, right? So down here is the frequency range. This plugin goes from 20 hertz all the way to 6K, which is sufficient. 6K is an area for harshness. Violin, you can ignore everything down there because it doesn't do anything to the harshness, right? The E string starts at 880. Harsh notes usually kick in around 3K. So I would say let's set it between 2.2 and 6. This is my area. So the intensity will tell the plugin how deep it looks inside the frequency range. So it's almost like a cue. Is it going to focus on a narrower band, or it's going to spread it out a little bit and make it wider? And the focus, of course, will be the dynamic response. So if it's 100, it will focus on the loudest parts first. So any time you dig in really hard and there's a spike, and if you move this down, it's going to address everything equally throughout, your recording or your mix. So this is more the dynamic control, and this is more like an EQ in your equalizer, right? So the bandwidth. So let's give this a listen. Let's start down here and see what it does to my sound. Yeah, nice. So you can tell it made it a little smoother, right? It took off a tiny bit, and of course you want to be careful. It's still a violin. You want it to sound like a violin, but you can, really with the controls quickly get a nice tone. There's no visual reference, and this is what maybe some people might miss, right? They want to see some graphs moving, and this is when you compare it to some of the others. So if I show you, for instance, the Neutron Sculptor, which works the same way, but you have that wonderful display, right? So if I play my track, you see the waveform, and you can set your spectrum. We can go the same way between 2. This goes to 20, and then we dial it in. So you have a visual reference what you're doing, right? And this is very simple also in this approach. Do you only the master how much you want to suppress it, and then how fast, and you can change the tone a little bit, but I usually leave this alone. And then you can just set the range, right? And the advantage of the Neutron, you go from 20 hertz, same like this, but you go up to 20K, which is nice. So you can actually work on maybe just some hiss, and some super high and airy stuff, or yeah, it gives you a little more a wider bandwidth. The same, by the way, same thing applies to the Sonnox. The Sonnox is very similar. It gives you has 3 options here: tweak, mix, and produce. But it gives you on the first page very simple region. The rumble weight 40 right now. The warmth and the mud is in the the mid range, and the harshness will be up 10K, 9K. So you can set this around 3, 4, and then you can just push it, or reduce it, right? So let's listen to the Claro. Yeah, that's the one we don't want to hear, right? And you also see it here in the display. There's a lot of activity going on in here. There's something around 1K. It's not too bad. I leave this. It's too much. Sure. Same result, violin sounds as smooth and as you maybe want it. And it's just a different look, but also you have a wider range. This one is actually goes to 40K, which you don't even hear, but if you want to work in that range, you could, right? So yeah, that's pretty amazing. I think that's the one I've seen, and it goes from 10. Yeah, this is the widest spectrum, 10 to 40. That's pretty wild. And of course, another favorite is the Gullfoss. The Gullfoss I don't really use on individual instruments, because for me, this is the beauty about this. You can address the entire mix, and the way it works, you decide ahead of time if you want to recover some lost frequencies or you want to tame some frequencies, and you can have it both work, and then you can set your preferences. Do you want more taming, or do you want more recovery, right? So you can play with those, and you run this, and you see how it covers. Here, see, now it's trying to recover low end, but the violin doesn't have any low end, right? So that's why this seems to be working crazy. So it doesn't really make sense on an individual bass here, but on a general mix, this Gullfoss works magic. I love this plugin. But yeah, again, you might want to put in the M-Clarity or the Neutron or the Claro on an instrument track, work with this, and then later on your entire mix, work with the Gullfoss, right? So that's about that. Let's look at a low-end example with some beats. See how those plugins behave in that field. So I made a quick track here with using 2 Zebras synthesizers and a drum machine. This is, by the way, if you don't know it, this is the XO by XLN Audio, which is also a wonderful plugin with a lot of creativity involved. You can do wonderful things with drums and beats. And so I put those 2 synths in the same range. So it's a little cluttered. It gets a little heavier on the mid-range and on the bassy side. So let's mute everything here. Everything is bypassed. Let's open up the clarity. Off for now. And let's hear this first. All right, you get the idea, right? So a lot of information in the 200 hertz range, 200, 300 and lower. And let's see what happens here in the settings, presets. What do we have? We have a mud killer low-end cleaner. Oh, let's see what that does. Puts us between 20 and 400, not bad. And suppression is a tiny bit, and the intensity is a 28. Okay, let's see what happens here. Off. Too much. Yeah, with the bass, you gotta be super careful, right? If you do too much, you lose your bass. Can't do this. Let's look at the mid-range mud killer. Let's see how what that does. Okay, this is between 31 and 200. 100 intensity, suppression, a lot. Okay. Yeah, that takes away a lot of weight. Almost too much too. Yeah, it does. I mean, it just, you heard it. It added a little bit more clarity to, that mix. I would call it a mix, if that's what we currently have. Let's see what the others could do. Let's bypass the clarity. Let's go over to the, let's do the Sculptor, same order. And also they have, of course, presets, remove boxiness, remove mud. Okay, let's see where we are here. We are between 90 and 390. Good. And let's also bring this in, see what happens. Yeah, similar result. You can also dial in and exactly how you want it. And again, you see the visual, the curve of the frequencies, it gets an idea what's happening there. So, but same result. Very good. What's the Sonnox gonna do? Sonnox. So again, it's gonna show you a lot of activity between, I say, here and here, right? So that's what we should see. A little bit of high end too. All right, let's remove. That's the rumble. Yeah, leave that one alone. Leave the high end alone. Let's stick in this range. Yeah, also very good. And you can go down to 10, right, and up to 40, so a wider range. And of course, the last one in the lineup here is the Gullfoss. Let's go to 0 first. Yeah, the Gullfoss definitely is more subtle. And, that's the idea of it as a mastering plugin, right? You want it to work a little bit on your finished mixes. So do not, I would never put recover to 200. I mean, it's just way too much. Then you want to address your mixes at a different stage in the track and use something like this to help. But yeah, so they all do the same job, and it all depends what you already own and what you need. But I think the M-Clarity is definitely worth a try. And right now the price is great. If you want to check it out, go to their website and you can do the trial. Doesn't cost you anything. For a week you can test it out and see what it does to your mixes or your instrument buses, and see if it helps you to get better results. All right. So thanks for watching. Until next time. Bye.